What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this Sunday evening, September 4th, 2022. It is about 8:09 p.m. here along the West Coast. Been a pretty active day today. Latest earthquake shows a 2.0 earthquake out in the Big Island of Hawaii. Let's go ahead and check out some activity kind of ramping up around the world. We're going to start off first in the Yellowstone area, where Yellowstone is having a pretty good burp of earthquake activity, so to speak, within the last hour. Notice here around the northwestern corner of the Yellowstone caldera, a pretty good increase in earthquake activity all of a sudden. This is what I call rapid succession earthquake activity in a short amount of time. There's probably a good 30 or 40 earthquakes here within the last half hour or so. And that's kind of a big deal. These things kind of pop off like crazy, and that's when the swarms really kick up and really get going, so to speak. A lot of times we'll see these swarms with a couple spikes here and there, but over the last last hour, things have really been busy. Nothing yet showing up on the USGS map. Of course, the USGS on vacation, and I'm sure they only have 2.5 and above set here for the Yellowstone area. I don't believe any of these earthquakes are above the 2.5 threshold, but there is quite a few of them, folks, and it's just kind of blasting out of the blue. And kind of interesting, right? How this happens. Just kind of a crazy idea that this is happening around a super volcano. Now, over the past 7-8 days or so, we have seen a swarm of activity. We see some 2s and 3s around Yellowstone up here around the northwest corner of the park, and also a little separate swarming down here around the southern end of the Yellowstone caldera. And this activity, though, kind of looks like it's in between. Most of the activity that we did see over the past 7 or 8 days or so was in this region, and then we had a little separate swarming down here. But the main area, the source of these earthquakes, appear to be right here at this seismograph station, Mary Lake, right around this northwestern section here of the Yellowstone caldera. And man, there's just a lot of earthquake activity there happening within the last half hour, 45 minutes or so. So we'll continue to monitor this and see if this turns into a dandy of a swarm. Again, right now, the latest activity still showing some movement here on the blue line. Some of those earthquakes showing up here. That is the most recent activity. All right, so things really kicking up around the globe right now. Of course, this morning time frame, we've seen that 6.9 in the central mid-Atlantic ridge. And we also seen earlier this evening a 6.2 in the southeast Pacific rise. Now, these are both divergent boundaries, separation of the seafloor. And we had 2 of them today. So I think, if anything, they're kind of adding to the increase in pressure in certain regions here. And one of those regions here along the west coast, where we've seen quite a bit of earthquake activity today. Here's the 2.5 map, and above we just have another one coming in, a 2.5 on the Owens Valley fault zone, it looks like. That's around the Big Pine area. I believe this is the section that's seen the earthquake back in, oh man, when was that? 1872 rupture section, that's right. So this little area did see some activity back then. But this movement actually looks like it's a little off of there. White Mountains fault zone. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. The White Mountains fault zone. See if the Southern California Earthquake Data Center has that fault listed. White Wolf, right? Double check that. White Wolf, and that's going to be White Mountains fault zone. Let's go back here. The white. Oh, I don't see it. So it's not even on here. But it did say something about the, oh man. Well, may have to come back and see if we can find a little info on that. But it is just off of the Owens Valley fault area. That's somewhat of a lengthy fault zone as well. So 2.5 now, just coming in here within the last hour. Also some activity on the Calaveras fault zone. That extensional fault kind of extends into the bay there. They've seen a 3.5 near the Seven Trees area. Also some movement down here. And a little cluster of quakes, a 3.5 and a couple other mid-2s as well. Just off the San Andreas fault zone, the creeping section. Maybe, it looks like maybe on this area, it looks like it could be on the Pine Rock fault. It does extend a little bit down here in parallel with the San Andreas fault. Let's see if Pine Rock Valley, let's see if we can have that. There's Pine Mountain. Pine Rock fault, so it doesn't look like they have this on here either. Nope, that's a little odd. Okay, so either way, it's very close to the San Andreas fault, the plate boundary right there. Also, Ridgecrest seen some activity, and off the coast of Los Angeles seen an earthquake as well near the Manhattan Beach area, 3.0. Further down south, we've seen some activity along the San Jacinto fault zone, and those are all 2.5 and above. The microquake map adds on quite a few more quakes into the area, including a 1.1 near the Thousand Palms area. That's just off the San Andreas fault, the southern segment. No major swarms to note here on this segment of the San Andreas fault. Just overall, seismically speaking, it's been somewhat of an active day for 2.5 and above. But we've seen it before in the past. Either way, definitely good to keep your eyes and ears open and have an earthquake plan in times of increased seismic activity. Mount St. Helens seen some activity as well. Looks like a few earthquakes at the Volcano there in Washington. We'll check out the tremor map and volcanic activity there in a little bit. One earthquake overnight, late last night. Looks like a 3.2 off the coast of Oregon, well off to the coast. And there's that activity into Idaho that we've seen in the Sawtooth Fault area. A couple threes kicking off there. That is the activity that showed up here. These little larger quakes that are showing up in the northwest corner of Yellowstone National Park, those are the threes that were kicking up there in Idaho. But this here is all separate and all localized there to Yellowstone National Park. The rest of the country, though, pretty darn quiet as far as the all magnitudes map go. Not a whole lot going on. West Coast definitely been pretty active in terms of earthquake activity. Puerto Rico hasn't really seen too much in uptick. Most of this activity here from this morning time frame, couple twos and some threes. See what we got going on in Hawaii, lighting up there in the red circles as well. Most of the activity there near Pahala, one earthquake off the coast in the Loihi Seamount region, but overall looks like a typical day out there. Let's see if we got any adjustment following the 6.2 that came in, which came in roughly about 23:57. So technically, the only earthquake here in this area following that 6.2 has been a 4.3 in the Fiji Islands area. The deeper earthquakes here, kind of shoving this plate down here, Pacific plate, underneath this area into the Tonga Trench region. And that area has been awfully quiet. Samoa area, Tonga region, definitely got to watch this subduction zone for some larger activity. All this movement prior to the 6.2. And those are just quite a few fours and fives earlier this morning time frame. We got one earthquake out in the Afghanistan area. This was prior to the 6.2 as well. I kind of like to compare activity once a large quake hits. Areas that may see uptick or lack of activity. And looks like things have come to a halt here along this region for now. Although the deeper activity in Fiji may put just a brief pause on it. I still think though the West Coast is definitely need to be on watch here for the activity that we've been seeing throughout the day today. Alaska area, as we look up north, not a whole lot here within the last hour, just mostly around Anchorage and through the area, some microquakes. Let's check out the trimmer map tonight here along the Cascadia. Nothing showing up. 0 is the number for the past couple days here, according to the PNSN anyway. Volcanic seismicity map of Mount St. Helens there in Washington. We're going to check that out because they showed a few quakes there on the map. Mostly microquakes, all microquakes. Haven't seen anything big. There's some S waves there, some surface waves from the 6, I believe that's the 6.2 that we've seen out in the Southeast Pacific Rise. Those squiggly lines there, wavy lines. As far as earthquake activity goes, a couple small ones here. Not for sure what this reading is here, but it doesn't look localized to the area. Most of the time when we look for earthquakes, we're looking at these right here. These very well distinct, sharp lines indicating local seismic activity to the Mount St. Helens region. And there's a couple, 4 or 5, and it kind of looks like what is listed there on the USGS map. Looking at the Earthquakes Canada section here, not a whole lot showing up here. I don't know if they update their map on the weekends or on the holiday, but that quake there is from yesterday, a little 2.3 in the Bella Bella, BC region. Let's go ahead and check out the Tau volcano, see if we got any adjustment down there with this with that 6.2 that occurred earlier, way down south of this region. Could have a little adjustment. And we'll go ahead and check out the seismicity map here. Looks about the same. There's some of the S waves kicking up here. Even on this map, you can see it pretty nicely. These wavy, squiggly lines there indicating the S waves there from that 6.2 that kicked off. As far as local seismic activity goes, definitely some activity over the afternoon, morning time frame. And this has just been an ongoing thing. These earthquakes tend to, seems like every couple hours or so, get a 2 or 3. And there's some other smaller ones in there as well. This is a very sophisticated seismograph, and is tuned very properly to pick up some of these smaller quakes and deeper quakes as well. I like to see these graphs like this. We can see all the activity, and including those S waves there from that distant 6.2 earthquake south of this area. But as far as any major changes go, I'm not noting any at all with this the Tau Island volcano there in the Manua Islands in American Samoa. Yellowstone, though, is a different story. Definitely going to be watching that pretty closely here. Like I said, this only popped up here within the last hour or so. I do have a seismograph station that we are running on the live stream, and that is going to be, well, it's called Yellowstone, and it just went off the graph of the map on the bottom left side. A couple different stations here that we have keyed up. This is Barrett down in Southern California, Petrolia here outside of Eureka, California, in Northern California, and what is that? Kipapa, Hawaii, is that right? Hopefully. Station there to monitor earthquake activity around the Hawaii area. Mount St. Helens, and down here, Yellowstone National Park. Still showing a couple of these spikes here. Those are some earthquakes. Not as big as what we had seen there, but definitely still seeing some earthquake activity there at Yellowstone National Park. So we'll keep an eye on it, see how it plays out. Again, this activity just kind of came up out of the blue, so nothing to worry about. We have seen them before in the past, but just kind of interested to see exactly what causes, this rapid earthquake activity all of a sudden, just in a short amount of time. It's not just like one earthquake here, a couple 5 minutes later. This is just like bam, 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 bam. A bunch of earthquake activity in a short amount of time. So, all right, guys. So yeah, I hope everyone has a good night. Let's go ahead and check out space weather here real quick. We can't forget about that because that's kind of a big deal. We'll go back here bear with me. I'm kind of running a new broadcasting software and kind of getting the hang of it. I dumped the OBS system just because of too many issues with that broadcasting software. I just don't, I don't know. Something's wrong with it. There's either a hack or there's some backdoor or there's a bunch of bugs that they have not fixed. All right, so activity, current activity, it looks like we're still under a G2 class warning here. KP index up around 5 to 6. And right now that looks to be true. We've had past couple hours here in the KP index of the 5 range. The current aurora forecast shows conditions favorable up at the higher latitudes there. I don't know if it's going to dip down into the northern tier states tonight or not, but mostly up into the Canada region. Those folks up there have a good view, I'm sure, and a good potential of seeing some more auroras up there in their sky above their heads. Beautiful, I'm sure, but man, I would love to see it one day. One day. After tonight, it looks like things are mellowing out a little bit. That coronal wind stream, the high-speed solar wind that was flowing from the coronal hole is now kind of dwindling down a little bit. Notice the, let's go to the live data here. The solar wind stream, here's when the coronal hole hit last night and throughout the day today. We're still somewhat elevated on the solar wind speed, right around the 600 km range, but we are dropping off a little bit here. Looks like things are going to mellow out a little bit here in the near future. And far as the solar flare threat goes, these guys showing 99% chance of a C flare, M flare at 35, and an elevated 10% chance for an X flare. Now I'm not for sure if they've adjusted this or not. Current conditions, looks like we are crackling with some C flare activity right now within that C range over the last 24 hours. Far as seeing any M flare activity goes, or even X flare, let's go ahead and take a look at these magnetic fields here of these sunspots, and I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing the potential for seeing a good M flare. C flares are crackling. Let's see which ones. They still got 3089 on the map for the potential. That's going to be the one that's way over here on the southwestern limb. That could be the one that's continuing to crackle with some C flares and may have that potential for an M flare. But from these newer sunspots that are Earth side and facing the Earth here, they're not looking all that pretty in terms of producing any flare activity. They just don't have it. So these guys are probably forecasting for 3089, which is way over there, and will not be geo-effective whatsoever, even if they get a large CME. So hoping, fingers crossed, these things grow here, the newer sunspots, but it doesn't look likely at the moment. All right, guys, I am going to jump off here. I do hope everyone has a good night once again, and please stay safe out there. Just be on guard out here along the West Coast. You know, things are definitely pretty active, but it's nothing to worry about. It's just definitely a good reminder to be prepared. And we got a whole lot of heat coming up here. It's supposed to be 114 tomorrow here in Northern California. That includes areas of Sacramento too. Sacramento, Stockton, areas around the Delta are going to be in the hundreds as well. No Delta breeze coming in for us here. We're going to cook over the next 4 or 5 days here with an extended excessive heat warning. I think the hottest day is going to be Tuesday. We could be breaking some all-time records here for Northern California. 116 degrees expected here where I live in Northern California, but also includes areas Sacramento, Redding, Chico, you know, the entire valley, San Joaquin Valley as well. This whole state is going to be cooking like crazy, and that's going to be a good test for the power grid. I'm stocked up. My generators are ready. I got plenty of fuel. Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't go down. But if it does, the stream will go down, and we'll do some mobile updates if necessary when it comes to earthquake activity. But for now, folks, have a good night. Stay safe out there. Labor Day tomorrow. If you got it off, enjoy. If not, thanks for working out there. And we will chat you guys a little bit later on. Have a good night, everyone. Peace out.